Hey there, Four States. This is Luke Taylor, and welcome to another edition of the Author's Corner here on KNEO 91.7 FM, The Word. And today I'm filling in for Roberta Foster, and we're going to be speaking today with Lee Weeks. He has written a new book called Sundays at the Track. These are inspiring true stories of faith, leadership, and determination from the world of NASCAR. This is published by Revell Books, and we'll tell you at the end of the program where you can find out more about this book. But to tell you a little bit here about Lee Weeks, he's an author, journalist, editor, communication strategist, and former senior pastor who is passionate about communicating the life-changing message of the gospel in clear, creative, and compelling ways. And so, hey, Lee Weeks, thanks so much for joining us here on the Author's Corner.
Hey, Luke, it's great to be with you.
Yeah, well, maybe to start off, I'll just let you introduce this book for everybody, Sundays at the Track.
Yeah, Sundays at the Track is a compilation of 36 what I call faith profiles, kind of vignettes, if you will, about 36 personalities in the world of NASCAR, and they come from the driver's side, from the pit crew teams, team owners, executives in the sport, racetrack owners as well, and so it kind of is a full gamut of NASCAR, and it covers the three levels of racing as well. The Craftsman Truck Series, the Xfinity Series, and the Cup Series is represented as well.
And so this book is using a lot of anecdotes, but instead of just using anecdotes, you took a hands-on approach to compiling a lot of stories in each chapter, and you talked with a number of individuals as well as a number of key organizations to bring these stories together. And so can you tell us about that process?
Yeah, exactly. My end was a person that leads a ministry called Motor Racing Outreach out of the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Billy Malden has been there nearly 30 years, and he's the CEO and senior chaplain of Motor Racing Outreach. And Billy was really the one who got me in the door and went before me, advocated for me, kind of vetted these personalities, if you will, as far as their walk with the Lord. And he helped me connect with 36 individuals who, you're right, there's plenty of information about these, and you can pull stuff online and pull together anecdotal stuff, but I was blessed to have the opportunity to actually sit down and interview each of these people, talk to them about their faith journey and how it's impacted and driven their lives over the years. And so that's how the book kind of came together through God just aligning helpers and really influencers in the world of NASCAR that got me indoors I otherwise would have never been able to get through.
Yeah, well, it sounds like for a book like this, there's so many moving parts to bring something like this together. I really would have to be God putting those pieces into place. And I just wondered, what's the main takeaway that you would really like people to come away from this book with?
Hopefully, people who have a personal relationship with the Lord will be encouraged and inspired by the stories of perseverance and God's faithfulness in the lives of these people that are featured in the book. And, you know, for just the average NASCAR fan who's maybe not looking for anything spiritual, hopefully this will maybe whet their appetite to lean into God and explore having a relationship with Him. But mainly these are, there's a lot of great leadership principles too, that are unpacked in these chapters. And, there's marital, there's stories of overcoming marital strife and conflict and how you can work your way through that. So these are kind of celebrities, names that people know well in NASCAR who have allowed themselves to be vulnerable and transparent about how they have worked through the everyday, normal human challenges that we all face in life, in our relationships, and seeking acceptance and validation and purpose for our lives. We can all relate to those types of stories, and so hopefully the takeaway is, you know, God's got a purpose and plan for each of our lives, and when we seek Him with all our heart, with all our mind, and love Him with all our heart, mind, and strength, He's going to put us on a path that He preordained for our success and for His glory.
Mm. Wow. And so as I was reading your bio there, we mentioned that you have a journalism background. And a book like this really does feel like a journalistic type of project. I mean, you were meeting with people, you were listening to their stories, you were thinking about how to convey these stories. And I'm sure there's some powerful ones in here. Tell us a little bit about how hearing their stories and writing them, how that impacted you personally.
Yeah, you're right. I did come from a journalism background, worked in daily newspapers early in my career, right out of college, got a journalism degree at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and went to work for my daily newspaper in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and was experiencing what I thought for a while was great success. There's something about seeing your byline on the front page, but after a while, the bylines were associated with the type of news that often makes the front page of a daily newspaper, and oftentimes that's not really great news. It's controversial. It's maybe crisis driven or what have you. And the joy in writing this book is I get to write about good news, the good news of the gospel and its transforming power in the lives of people. And so, tapped into the journalistic interview skills that came or that I've exercised for a lot of my career. And so, combining those interviews with the wealth of online research that's out there, and then, putting together a story that is really driven and the faith thread is throughout the story. That was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to see how God, and tell the story of how God orchestrates and divinely intervenes in our lives and orchestrates the events of our lives, where sometimes we don't see that on the front end or while we're in the middle of it. But when we can look back, we can see how God's hand was on it all the way. And that these people that share their stories with me, that does not go unnoticed by them. They're very careful to make sure that Jesus is the hero of their story in the midst of all that they go through.
Yeah. Well, that's great to hear. And I think a book like this will really impact a lot of people, even maybe someone who's not necessarily has a thick spiritual background, but maybe they're a NASCAR fan, and this could be a good gift for them as well. And maybe something to draw them a little bit closer to the Lord, or think about spiritual things.
Absolutely. And, for the NASCAR fan, there's a lot of great NASCAR history, a lot of great stories on and off the track, insights into the sport, the history of the sport, and statistics of the successes, and recounting some of the more memorable races. A lot of NASCAR races are filled with these fiery crash finishes and the accidents that take out so many cars in one swoop. And it's amazing how these drivers so often walk away unscathed from these near-death experiences.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That'll certainly probably cause them to think about eternity and those type of matters. And so hopefully letting them tell their story, that'll impact a lot of people, get them to think along those lines. So Sundays at the Track, that's the book we've been talking about today. We've been speaking with Lee Weeks, and this is published by Revell Publishers. We'll let him tell you how to find out more about it in just a moment. But so Lee Weeks, you also wrote another book several years back, and tell us a little bit about that one too before you go.
Yeah, so back in 2021, Zondervan HarperCollins released a book that I collaborated with Darryl Strawberry with. Many may remember him back as a Major League Baseball outfielder for won World Series titles with the New York Mets and 3 titles with the New York Yankees back in the 80s and 90s and even the early 2000s, his 17-year career spanned. But much of that career was, for Darryl, he was gripped in addiction and was not living for the Lord. And so he's had a New York Times bestseller written about that part of his life. And he asked me to help him write the story of his spiritual autobiography, if you will. And it's called Turn Your Season Around, How God Transforms Your Life. And basically, it's a 9-chapter book about the sanctification process in a believer's life, about how God matures us in our walk with Him once we surrender our lives to Him. And it's told through real life experiences that Daryl Strawberry experienced. And Daryl's now an itinerant evangelist and has been for 15 or so years. Travels the country with his wife Tracy, and they have a great ministry and a great heart for those that are gripped in addiction. And but just a phenomenal opportunity to help Daryl tell that story as well.
Yeah, sounds like it. So, so if people want to find out more about Sundays at the Track, or I suppose either of your books, where would you like to send them?
Yeah, you can Google those titles. They're on Amazon, anywhere books are sold, bricks and mortar buildings, Barnes and Noble, but online, anywhere books are sold, you can find both Sundays at the Track and Turn Your Season Around.
All right. Well, and one more time, the main book we were talking about today, it was Sundays at the Track, Inspiring True Stories of Faith, Leadership, and Determination from the World of NASCAR, published from Revell Books. And we just appreciate them sending us a copy here and letting us have this opportunity to speak with Lee Weeks. He's the author on this book. And sir, we hope you have a great rest of your day, and thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Luke. Take care.
Hello, I'm Pastor Alan Brock, and I host Standing Firm radio show and podcast. Because standing firm is not easy, we are in a battle against Antichrist opponents. That's why we do this show. Because everything we need, we have in Christ, and in Christ, we win. I invite you to listen to Standing Firm on Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. on KNEO 91.7, or you can listen anytime or wherever you get your podcast. Just search Standing Firm with Alan Brock. Listen or subscribe to Standing Firm with Alan Brock, brought to you by the Sky High Podcast Network.